Hey folks, welcome to Gemini season. In this video, I would like to give you a heads up on what this season is about so that you are working with nature and not against it. Why would you work so much harder or make life so much harder than you need to, especially as a creative person? So if you don't know me, my name is Latoya. I am from Emerald Astrology. That is my business. And I'm super excited to talk to you about Gemini season and what it has to bring. So let me go ahead and share my screen. So Gemini season starts May 20th and it lasts till June 20th. And so this season overall is about developing your intellect. So Gemini is a mutable air sign. Being an air sign, communication, connection, exchange of information and gather information is Gemini's jam. And then with it being a mutable sign, it's about moving back and forth, going here, going there. And you can really relate to this energy if you're looking at the seasons. So if we're looking at coming into the end of spring and the beginning of summer, we have some cooler days and then suddenly some hot days and then back to cool. So that is kind of like that shifting back and forth mutable energy that Gemini embodies pretty well. And so, yeah, Gemini season is about developing the intellect. It's very vibrant. It's very flighty. It loves to follow information that could be in a very noble way where it's like gathering, wisdom and information to better your life, or it could be in a very just kind of, what is that word I'm looking for? Just kind of, what is that word? I'm losing it. But words is very important for Gemini too, which is kind of funny. Me being a Gemini, I'm like, what's that word? What is that word I'm looking for? Trivial. That's the word I was looking for. Trivial information, and that leading to gossip and getting caught up in that kind of information. So Gemini, just the intention of Gemini is to gather information so that later it can be used to your benefit, to others' benefit, and make life a little bit more interesting, and just navigating it with much more ease and fun. So Gemini, if you want to think about the people that are Gemini in your life, this is like the energy that you are learning to embrace, to encounter, to work with, and we'll be doing this all together as the collective. So that's exciting. So yeah, looking at the sun here, 0 degrees Gemini. This is the beginning of Gemini season. And yeah, let's see what else I wanted to talk about with Gemini season. So yeah, developing ideas, exploring new ideas. This is definitely a time to just get curious about different social groups that are around you, maybe even doing short distance traveling. So day trips will be really helpful to just kind of really stimulate the mind, indulge the mind a little bit. And so get you just kind of curious about life again and what people are doing around you. And if you're more goal-oriented like myself, you have this idea that you want to manifest, this would be a wonderful time to read more about this topic, listen to podcasts about this topic to really develop your mind and see how you can apply this information to your benefit of your idea that you're trying to harness here. So the planet that rules Gemini is Mercury, which is the planet of communication, of words, of the rational mind, of travel, of commerce, of business. And so the business of Mercury is to help Gemini find the words and communicate it to people, and just expand understanding of life and putting them in boxes, giving them labels. That's kind of another thing about Gemini, is that loves to do is to understand things and then put a label on it. So kind of getting caught up in that, that world can be an issue because you're not really necessarily dropping into the information, in a very like intuitive, emotional kind of sense. It's getting caught and just into the, what is it? What can I label it? And then moving on. So that's kind of like the shadow of Gemini, is getting caught up in that kind of cycle. And just to kind of think about crystals, I've been actually wearing this moss agate, and this crystal is really helpful, especially if you are a type to get stuck in that intellectual and forget about the intuition, or if you're really stuck in the intuition and forget about the rationalization of things, and really bringing balance between those two. Moss agate is really helpful in doing that, as well as expression and communication, which is, again, important for Gemini. And so we want to think about, during Gemini season, where Gemini is placed in our chart and what house it actually rules. So in this case, if you're Virgo rising, so in this chart, it's Virgo rising, so Gemini is in the 10th house of career, the public life, how you act in the outside world, what people know you for. And then in this case, with it being Gemini, people will know this Virgo rising person for their ability to bridge the gap of information. So making information more accessible to everyday people. And they were probably really good at different medias and like social media, even writing, and then making graphics about that writing. They're really good at spreading that information. So being on different networks would be really something this Virgo rising person would be good at. So thinking about where Gemini is placed in your birth chart, that is where a lot of your creative focus, your authority, and the skills that you're trying to develop during this time, the season, is that's the point. That's where we're focusing on. That's where it's happening in the area of your life. So if Gemini is in your 7th house, let me see if I can shift it. So if you are Sagittarius rising, Gemini is ruling your 7th house of partnerships, of relationships. So this is where you'll get a lot of that energy, that flighty, that communicative, that need for mental stimulation. It happens in your partnership house. This is happening through your relationships, your one-to-one exchange. So this could be your client work, if you are if you're an employer and you're dealing with a lot of clients. If you are, married, this is your spouse. If you're friends, if you're in your intimate one-on-one friends, that dealing with that in a one-on-one basis is Gemini energy. So you'll see a lot of activation going on there. And so we are definitely just we can open up to the season of cool ideas and working with that restless energy in a way that can help us learn and grow and get more connected to our local environment. So this is all the intention of Gemini. So the tarot card that we can think about for Gemini season is the Lover's card. And so this talks about communication and open lines of communication and deeply meaningful relationships, with Gemini being the twin sign needs. It needs that reflection. It needs that mirroring. It needs the other to kind of make sense of itself. And so that's where we kind of get that stereotype of Gemini to be two-faced, because of that ability to understand one and understand the other, and how and who their audience is, and being able to communicate in a way that engages the audience. And sometimes that can come across as like, hey, you didn't say the same story as you told me, and the Gemini is like, well, I just knew where you were coming from, so I wanted to relate to you in that kind of way, and that's why my story lean more in this details than that, because I wanted to have that communication connection. And so that's kind of like the downfall of Gemini as well, if it's dealing with gossip, dealing with other people's information instead of like knowledge of yourself, knowledge of things, and all that. So that can be an issue if we're talking about other people's lives. And so, yeah, thinking about the Lover's card, meditating on this tarot card would be really helpful, because that can kind of give you some, if you're the intuitive type, that can really open up your connection to divinity, connection to yourself, and clarifying your values and your philosophy and how you communicate that to the other. How do you want to connect in a meaningful way to the other? So thinking about that for Gemini season and meditating on the Lover's card will be very helpful. So to kind of get more into the astrology, or at least going back to that, we have Saturn ingress into Aries during Gemini season. And so this is going to be happening for the next 2.5 years. Of course, he dips back out of Aries and into Pisces again, but he'll go back into Aries and will be there till 2028. And so thinking about the things that we standing up for ourselves, a fear around being the first, fear around being who we are and taking lead. This is the stuff that Saturn is bringing up. I have a video on Saturn and Aries, so I won't go too much into this in this video, but definitely I might link it somewhere or definitely in the description, where you can click on it and watch that video to understand Saturn and Aries. I have to get used to saying Saturn and Aries and not Saturn and Pisces. Been saying Saturn and Pisces for the past 2.5 years. So now saying Saturn and Aries, Saturn and Aries. So yeah, we're going to be dealing with that during Gemini season, that shift of energy and that listening to that call and saying, okay, I will take responsibility for this about myself and protect this core part of myself, and where I just want to make more ground space for this and build that fort around it. So May 25th, we also have Mercury ingress into Gemini. And was it May 20? Yeah, it's kind of got to shift it over. Let's go. So Mercury in Gemini will be here for the next 2 weeks, and this will be actually very supportive to Saturn and Aries, because it's sextile to Saturn here. So that's that configuration going on. And this could be really supportive in figuring out information that you need to protect who you are, to stand up for who you are, and elderly folks or people that are more knowledgeable and on that path than you and matured on this path would be really helpful. So that Mercury being concerned about information, books, social gatherings, podcasts, all these things, that places that you can find information, Mercury is speeding up and getting us into those spaces, or at least thinking about doing this for the next 2 weeks. So take advantage of that, because that can give you a lot of momentum for the Saturn and Aries transit. On May 26th, we had the new moon in Gemini. And so that new moon is actually 6 degrees in Gemini. It's a great time, whether or not you are ready for it. New beginnings are happening here. So embracing that, leaning into that, figuring out, the information that you are, needing to research, gather that data, how you're organizing that so it's easily accessible and applicable to your life. This is a wonderful moon to build momentum towards those areas and setting an intention and developing your intellect and application skills. So yeah, reach out for that help with that. I guess, again, with that Saturn sextile, like you have access to elderly people or just people that had matured on that path and can kind of give you an upper hand, or at least direction in how to start your own pioneering journey. June 5th, so we're moving quickly ahead here. So on June 5th, we have Venus entering Taurus. Shift her into there. Venus in Taurus. And she'll be here for the next month and a half. And so this planet being about love, harmony, and beauty, we are able to find a lot of unity and luck and connection in the Taurus area of life. So if you're Aquarius rising, in this case, you'll be sitting in your 4th house, and this is activating that deep love and connection to family, to your home, to your sense of belonging, to your soulful connection, and doing things that are lovely and makes you feel appreciative and harmony to your environment. So this is a wonderful transit to redecorate the home in a way that is very beautiful and just inviting. And I'm just seeing like flowers. Flowers is a big deal, especially, with the season with Gemini. There's a lot of blooming flowers. Keep an eye on my candle. Blooming flowers that is just can beautify your space, and that will just really appease that Venus and Taurus transit. But yeah, if you are struggling, if you're having a challenging season in your life, I suggest looking to Venus and where she is moving through, especially in Taurus. She's in her own sign, so she can get a lot of support here and deliver that to you if you lean into that aspect of your life. So definitely look to Venus and Taurus and see what she has to deliver, what beauty she has to deliver. How can you feel more connected and at comfort into your life, even though it might feel challenging. June 8th. We have Mercury entering Cancer. So again, Mercury moves pretty fast. Let me shift him into Cancer here. So Mercury into Cancer, this is for the next 2 weeks. This is a great time to get curious about what helps you feel peace in your body and where you live. Mercury in Cancer can really reveal emotional undercurrents that's been going on in your life and really pull your mind to what's going on here and understanding that and not overlook it anymore. Because I know that, especially here in America, we are conditioned to not acknowledge our emotional well-being. And with it being in Cancer, the intellect is very focused on the emotional body. It's very focused on how connected we are to ourselves and our environment. And do we feel like we belong? And we can easily act out and project that onto other people, thinking that other people should make us feel comfortable. Other people should be more considerate about how we feel. But honestly, Mercury in Cancer is trying to help us understand how can we do that for ourselves and asking ourselves, what do I need in this moment when especially I feel out of the water, I feel, or maybe taken over by the waters, the emotional waters, and don't feel like other people are understanding me. So this is a wonderful transit for the next 2 weeks to develop your emotional vocabulary so that you can describe what you're actually feeling and connect with that person, whoever you're engaging with, that needs to hear it. June 9th. Jupiter finally is out of Gemini and will be in Cancer for the next year. So this is a lot of opportunities here to really connect to our emotional well-being. Jupiter is actually exalted in Cancer, and so this is like, here comes the waterfall. Here comes the abundance of life to show up in our life. So we want to really think about where this transit is happening. If you're Sagittarius rising, this is a lot of opportunities and support through other people's resources, other people's money, other people's things. They can support you and you can come together and become stronger together. So like, you might have something that the other person needs, the other person might have money that you need. This is like investors. This will be a wonderful time to really seek out investors and those that can really put money to your ideas and make some really big opportunities for yourself and them. So shared resources, joint resources is really big for Jupiter in Cancer for that Sagittarius rising. Even like going out for loans and figuring investments in yourself, or taking out a loan from the bank, or asking for money from your family members, that could be really supportive around this time. Of course, definitely connect to an astrologer that you trust to make sure that there's nothing afflicting this transit. But just in a bigger picture view, looking at that, this is a really good time to bet on yourself and ask people to invest in you. If you want an astrology reading with myself, I'm also available. Just reach out. Email me at emeraldastrology@gmail.com. So yeah, Jupiter here in Cancer can really give us this opportunity to be more empathetic and allow connection to happen with ourselves and other, and that through that brings an amazing amount of opportunities that is just so joyful and fulfilling, emotionally and spiritually fulfilling. So this is wonderful. I love to think of Jupiter as the planet of great things, all things that money cannot buy. Jupiter can deliver that. So June 11th, we have the full moon in Sagittarius, which is great because this is actually pulling the experiences that we are already starting to have with Jupiter in Cancer, is putting that into that full moon experience because Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. So here's our full circle moment that has happened, our attention that has started in December 1st, 2024. This is that full moon circle, or that full circle moment here. And so you want to think back on the journey that you've been on since December 1st of 2024, and let that reveal what this means to you, this area of life. What does this mean to you now, and what is taking root here, and what you need to protect, what you need to take care of. I think of, the moon being the mother. So what are we mothering now? And Mother Bear is very protective over her cubs. And so thinking about that as our ideas, as creatives, this is like, okay, I need to create space for this new cub, this new plant, whatever you want to think about, to be able to flourish successfully. How much water does it need? How much attention does this need? How much space do I need to provide for it to be a thing and develop and grow over time? So this is that full moon in Sagittarius that we can think about, especially Sagittarius being about expansion and growth and opportunity and philosophy. All of these things must be considered in this full moon in Sagittarius. So go look back on your journals, your planners, your calendars, your photos, your social media posts, all starting on December 1st, or that week last year, and see what intention did you consciously or subconsciously set during that time. And the last transit I want to talk about for Gemini season is Mars in Virgo. So finally, Mars is out of Leo. Mars is out of Cancer. It's been there for like 6 months, I think. And now we can kind of work with this new energy with Mars. Mars being in Virgo can really stir up that Virgo house and makes us really, Mars being the planet of war, passion, and protection. This is just like, yeah, the pot is being stirred here. So we're feeling more passionate about Virgo stuff, or the Virgo area of our life. We're feeling like we need to defend this place of our life. We need to hopefully channel Mars energy to be more productive and just put more energy in this area. So if we're Sagittarius rising, in this case, this will be putting more energy into your career, into your public standing. Maybe this is a time where you're like, I need to go my own way, especially Virgo. Virgo is very independent naturally, but wanting to go your own way, do your own thing. Mars and Virgo can have this energy, or just this influence on us during this time. So this is the path. This will be happening within 7 weeks. So Mars will be here for about 7 weeks here. Virgo being a mutable earth sign, this is a very grounding transit. So it's not going to be as flamboyant as Mars is in Leo. It'll be very much concerned about the details, wanting to work these things out so that things are working more efficiently, more fluidly, and incorporating all that we have learned up until this point. So fingers crossed we won't be getting into fights in this area of life. We won't be getting, in this case, fights with our bosses or fights with those in authority, or having to literally fight other people off of our reputation to protect our reputation. But hopefully it is just being more productive and like, what can I provide for the public? How can I develop my business in a more sustainable, efficient way, and incorporating information that I know that is helpful in healing to the community. So I'm speaking as if Mars is in the 10th house, but you can pull that information into the house that Virgo rules for you. So that is what I have to share about Gemini season 2025. I hope that this is a very productive season for you, very fun and mentally stimulating season for you. It's a great time. It's my season being a Gemini. So I'm really excited personally, but I hope that you are as well. It's a good month, especially with that Jupiter ingress, and we're going to get a lot of beautiful blessings with that. A lot of life can flourish in this area of our life. So yeah, if you would love to stay in touch when I do more videos like this, definitely consider signing up for my newsletter. It is free, and you'll also get my free ebook about living a fulfilling life with the cycles of the moon. That is available to you. I hope to stay in touch, and I'll see you on the next video. All right. And thank you so much, patrons. I want to say this too. Thank you so much, patrons, for making this video possible. With your support, this it makes it easier for me to make time to make content like this. So thank you. Have a great Gemini season. See you next video. Bye.